I owe you guys a big apology. I voted for Trump.
I left MAGA. My family hates me now.
All it took for me to leave the cult,
I didn't know anything about, right? I didn't know about my insane privilege.
Are not educated, just do not have the capability.
I want to make a particular appeal today to MAGA Americans.
This country needs a dictator. I hate to say that.
I will never be able to forgive a Trump voter.
I used to be a Trump supporter and now I'm not. Let's talk about it. I guess this is somewhat of like how I left MAGA. Back in 2016 or 2015, around when we knew that he was running, I considered myself a Republican. I was a child. I was 14, 15 at the time, right? But my mom was super conservative, super Catholic. That's what I was raised with. Honestly, being autistic and not knowing it at the time, I was more susceptible to being misled, to being brainwashed and stuff like that. So honestly, I listened to everything that my mom told me at the time. I didn't vote because I wasn't old enough to vote at the time, but I went to a Trump rally with my mom. I got into political debates at school on purpose with Democrats or children that would consider themselves to be Democrats at the time, right? Like, I joined a debate club specifically to be arguing about this stuff that in reality I didn't know anything about, right? I didn't know about my insane privilege. I hadn't gotten to that level in my education yet where I was open to more worldviews. So after I moved out of my mom's home and I moved close to a major-ish city on the East Coast, that really opened my eyes up. Like, I was living in a super diverse neighborhood. The high school that I moved to, I was one of three white students in a school that was majority all people of color. And that really opened my eyes up to how wrong my mom was, first of all, how wrong what I thought I knew and believed in was, and it really opened me up to like having empathy and seeing other people's points of view and like, understanding that like conservative MAGA Trump is actually not what I believe in and not what I stand for. Every day, even the past like 6 months, I feel like it's pushed me further and further to the left, where if you asked me a year ago, I would have told you I identified as a Democrat. I voted for the Democratic nominee in the last presidential election, but if you asked me today, I would say no, I don't align with the Democratic Party either. I'm definitely more further left than that, and I've actually been learning that like the Democratic Party actually isn't super left. To most other places in the world, it's actually a pretty right/center, if I'm correct, political party. So I don't know, I haven't stopped educating myself, and maybe that's what kind of flipped me over. And that, along with moving out of my mom's house and like being open to the world and other people and people that didn't look like me, I think that's what did it, to be honest with you. So that's a little bit of my story. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask me. I'm very open about this. And yeah.
Hey everybody, Rich coming to you.
So people are now coming out and saying that they were MAGA and now they aren't and have changed. Some have even fully shifted to the left and asking for forgiveness and understanding. A lot of folks are blaming their stupidity, lack of education, lack of doing their own research, or just viewing one source of news. There's even that example that we just saw where they're blaming their autism and the parents based on how they were raised. You'll see that as a common theme. And there is a legit website and newsletter called leavingmaga.org. Now, y'all know I don't shame people based on their voting per se. I may give a side eye here and there, but ultimately we have the right to vote or not vote as a U.S. citizen, and many people will change how they vote as they age, gain education, gain more of a world view or perspective, some even after having children, and so many other reasons. Most people I do see is voting for themselves, not others, which is a common theme throughout the video. Something's happening to them, so now they kind of see the error of their ways, but not really, because they're still not seeing the effects of this happening to other people. But there's no perfect way to vote, no perfect candidate, no perfect party, but most people feel like they have to vote to pick the best options for themselves or just the person that they like most. A lot of people vote even based on how a person looks, like, you know, based on their race, their gender, deemed attractiveness. So check out the other videos and let me know your thoughts as we go back to explore our MAGA converts.
Here at leavingmaga.org. I want to make a particular appeal today to MAGA Americans. I really don't believe that what is happening in our country now is something that you want. But I understand that it's not a natural act for us to admit that we believed lies and that we acted upon them and that we allowed those lies to shape our being and our personhood and our identity. And Leaving MAGA does not judge you. We do not ostracize those who have doubts. You are welcome with us at our community. And for friends and family who are out there who have friends and family in MAGA, we are here for you as well for support. Make sure that you follow us at our socials, leavingmaga.org. Get on our newsletter. Make sure you're subscribing. Empathy is much more preferable than scorn. Thanks so much, everyone. Appreciate your support.
I left MAGA and my family hates me now, part 1. I grew up in a super Republican family, literally on both sides, my mom's side and my dad's. Even though I grew up in a super liberal town in Santa Barbara, California, I never questioned my beliefs. I actually moved to Texas at the peak of MAGA, and I started to really regret and look at my life differently. For the first time, I was faced with actually seeing the effects of segregation and just living in a deep, deep red, not only state, but community. But I was not ready to face it yet. It took one super traumatic event in my life when we first moved here to completely rock my world and change everything.
All it took for me to leave the cult, okay, was when he shut the government down after promising Mexico would pay for the wall. That's all it took for me. I was not into politics. I just copied my ex-husband just to have things to talk about. That's it. Now, when Joe Biden got into office and I was like, this is supposed to be better than what we had, and it wasn't, then I became an anarchist. Because I'm really, it's either we get some super progressive people in this government or we just let the government go. We just gonna have to cut them off, because why are they getting all the tax money that we pay and not helping us back? Why do I have to be dirt poor my whole life because billionaires want to exist and rush to space?
My fellow Americans, I owe you guys a big apology. I voted for Trump. I made a huge mistake.
Okay, and what's your reason?
He started discriminating against minorities, American minorities, here in the United States. We got a problem with that.
You think he just started discriminating against American minorities? He has been doing that his entire life. We told y'all this was going to happen. Y'all just didn't want to believe the truth.
And I hope you guys have it in your heart to forgive me that I voted for that man. And I had a lot of hopes for that man. But the hopes are gone.
I'm sorry, I know other people disagree with this, but I will never be able to forgive a Trump voter. Because all last year, y'all said that we, the Democrats, were fear-mongering. We were lying about Donald Trump. Donald Trump said he was going to do this. He was crystal clear, and y'all still went to the ballot box and voted for him.
He's not fit to be a president. And I apologize. I hope all of you guys have it in your heart to forgive me.
I would love one of these people that voted for Donald Trump to explain where it went wrong. I mean, it was so obvious to the educated people that this was going to happen. And now y'all are like, oh, I didn't know this was going to happen. I didn't vote for this. How could you be so wrong?
I'd rather have Donald Trump as a dictator for 4 years. Absolutely. This country needs a dictator. I hate to say that, but it's the truth.
He could stand on the front steps of the White House and commit murder. I'm with him.
If he says it, then I'll go with it. And if he wants to be a dictator, then so be it.
Leaving MAGA and my family hates me now, part 2. So we left part 1 on that something really traumatic happened to me that kind of kicked this whole thing off. Without going into the whole story, it's really long, and if it's not your thing, you'll probably find it kind of dull. Long story short, I had a horrible miscarriage, a very tragic miscarriage. Not my first, but I was 16 weeks and I'd never made it that far. It was extremely traumatic. How I dealt with that trauma and grief was, well, I became extremely religious. I mean, I'd already been like a Christian and stuff, but like I went deep. And I don't know what it is about MAGA, but religion and MAGA are like very coexist. So it's 2020, the election is going on, everything is crazy, and so am I. I went full on Q. Down all the rabbit holes on super weird websites, on the YouTube, like it was an obsession. I went crazy on Facebook. I lost so many friends from my childhood. Remember, I am from a very liberal town in California. But what I never saw coming was that my extremism was going to completely implode. My shift away from MAGA and Republican extremism was actually a spiritual thought that I had. I was suffering in grief, suffering in religion, and I had a thought. I didn't ask for any of this. I didn't ask to be born. Why am I being faced with these decisions? Because remember, at the height of 2020 and Q and all the conspiracy theories, the mark was like a big topic of discussion. And I was stressed because your girl was trying to become a nurse. The nursing school that I was going to go to required the. So that one thought in my life literally spurred on a cascade of pretty much personal destruction. I left MAGA and my family hates me now, part 3. So picking back up on the conspiracy of the mark and the shot, I had been working towards becoming a nurse for years, but this ultra-right conspiracy almost destroyed that. I completely changed my major to marketing and business, and I was still heavy into the conspiracies. It's December 2020, and I am going down the road of all of this is fake. All politicians are fake. It's all literal political theater. So when J6 happened, that was actually the trigger of me officially leaving MAGA, but not really for the right reasons. I became convinced that this was all a show. It was all literally fake. Again, I'm still crazy here, guys. Deeply rooted in religious-based right-wing conspiracies. It wasn't until I started deconstructing in about April that year that I fully left MAGA, that I fully left my right-wing tendencies. But this is ultimately where, the divide with my family starts. It's kind of painful to go back to. Like I said, I'm about 4 years out from all of this now. But if you see my last video, I'm pretty drained. I'm still struggling with my family. I had a super tense dinner with my mom, and I've just been thinking about it for days. So it's 4 years of drama.
All right, so there is a part 4 to what that woman is describing on why she changed from being MAGA. I didn't really want to go ahead and pursue more of her story. It kind of goes on and on. But I do just want to point out that a lot of the reasoning in place, like I called out earlier, is more so self-centered versus caring about other people, which a lot of folks have talked about as being a major issue in this country and why we can't really progress, is that we're each of us just so self-centered that we can't focus on the overall community and what's best for, the nation overall. And of course, there's biases and prejudice, et cetera, as well. And of course, neither political party is perfect. That's why people are flip-flopping all over the place. Yet, MAGA, that is not Republican Democrat thing. That is its own, I'm just going to call it situation. You heard the lady earlier call it a cult. Call it whatever you need to call it. But from my view, it's really not Republican versus Democrat. It has a lot of Republican ideals, but it's very extreme. It's a very extreme thinking.
What's crazy is when I was in the MAGA cult, and I was leaving, deconstructing around 2020, I didn't watch CNN, MSNBC. I didn't watch any liberal media. I was still watching and listening to, consuming, so to say, right-wing media. So like Ben Shapiro, Joe Rogan, Matt Walsh. I was listening and just going to college and learning how to research and verify information was enough to switch something in my brain that I started questioning these people while I was listening to them. Like, they would say things and I was like, that's a bit extreme, or that doesn't sound right. Like, I don't remember specific instances or anything they specifically said at this point that like made me go, what the fuck? But I do just vividly remember questioning them as a whole, and what they were saying really turned me away from the MAGA cult. And around that same time, Ben Shapiro was really doubling down on his support for Donald Trump, which was not normal. Before 2020, I think Ben Shapiro was like a more moderate guy. I mean, sure, were some of his views problematic, but he was not like this far right guy. And so when he really doubled down on his support for Donald Trump, like, alarm bells were going off in my head. A lot of people ask me how to help their friends and loved ones get out of the MAGA cult, and education is a huge part of it, and so is deconstructing your religion. That's another topic we'll talk about a different day, but people who are not educated just do not have the capability for discernment. They don't know how to verify information, or they don't even know what a reliable source is, right? So I can't help everyone get out of the MAGA cult because most of these people are uneducated, but you can do the part of educating them, and it's going to be a long, harsh road to go down. But if that's something you want to do, then do it. But I'm just like sharing my story. Who these people listen to is very important. And so if they're listening to people like Ben Shapiro, which he's like backtracking now, so maybe he's not a good example, but like right-wing talking heads, they have to learn how to question these people that they're getting information from.